Deep inside the Amazon, an invisible line is moving. Where it passes, 500-year-old giants die, and the world's lungs begin to fail. This is the moment the rainforest turns into a dry savanna, and it's happening faster than we feared. This change progresses as an active, advancing boundary, rather than a static, random patchwork. It is a physical front where the humid jungle transitions into a permanently drier state. Climatologist Carlos Nobre has spent decades studying this shifting edge. His research establishes a strict biophysical threshold. If the basin loses 20 to 25% of its canopy, the system crosses a point of no return. 17 to 18% of that cover is already gone. Centuries-old canopy giants are central to this stability, shielding the understory and regulating local temperatures. When these massive trees die, the surrounding forest loses its protective shield. The Amazon is a unified, living climate system rather than a remote wilderness. As the intact edge recedes, the remaining forest faces a hotter, more exposed environment. This is a permanent state change. The urgent question is what happens when the Amazon stops functioning like a rainforest? Look to the sky to understand how this tipping point operates. The Amazon actively manufactures much of its own rainfall. Every single day, billions of trees act as giant biological pumps, drawing water from far below ground and releasing it into the air through their leaves. This process of evapotranspiration pumps immense volumes of water vapor into the atmosphere daily. Hydrologist Henk van der Ent mapped this hidden water system, showing that the forest contributes about 1,200 cubic kilometers of water vapor to the atmosphere annually, representing roughly 25% of the global atmospheric moisture flux. As this moisture rises, it cools, condenses, and falls back to the forest floor as rain. This moisture recycling creates a continuous, self-sustaining loop. But the water does not stay in one place. High-altitude winds capture these massive plumes of vapor, directing them westward toward the high wall of the Andes Mountains. These towering atmospheric currents are known as flying rivers. Running thousands of feet above the ground, they transport more water across South America than the surface flow of the Amazon River itself. Roughly 20 billion tons of water vapor daily. They carry this moisture thousands of miles to irrigate agriculture in southern Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina. When forest is cleared, this aerial conveyor belt begins to fail. Pasture land or soy fields cannot match the moisture-pumping capacity of mature jungle trees. Grasses and shallow crops reflect heat rather than recycling moisture back into the clouds, which weakens the atmospheric supply feeding regional rain. Research shows that where forest cover drops below historic levels, local water vapor levels drop sharply, directly weakening the atmospheric currents downstream. The resulting decline in rainfall is the direct consequence of breaking this water loop, rather than a separate climate crisis. By removing the canopy, we disrupt the very mechanism that keeps the air humid and the ground wet, starving the continent of its primary source of water. Simply planting new trees does not rebuild a collapsed climate. Once the canopy is breached, the humid understory is gone, replaced by baking heat. Surface temperatures rise by 5 degrees Celsius, drying out the soil and destroying the ancient seed banks buried beneath the surface. Ecologist Aldo Brando of the National Institute of Amazonian Research tracked this breakdown in post-fire recovery zones. His work reveals a harsh physical reality. Native seedling survival drops below 10% after just one rainy season. Without the giant protective canopy trees, the microclimate becomes hostile to its own offspring. Instead of forest, fast-growing, fire-adapted grasses seize the degraded land, acting as kindling for the next inevitable burn. This cycle permanently locks the ecosystem into a dry, open state. For indigenous families and smallholder farmers on the front lines, this is not an abstract theory. They are living the transition today as reliable streams turn to dusty trenches and crops wither in the compacted earth. The physical map of the continent is being redrawn. Replanting is not a cure. The pathway back to a functioning rainforest is actively breaking. The collapse of the water cycle triggers a physical restructuring of the ecosystem. When the forest canopy is cleared, the ground is exposed to direct sunlight, raising local surface temperatures by 5 degrees Celsius. This temperature spike alters regional atmospheric patterns. Evapotranspiration drops by an average of 0.35 millimeters per day, representing a 15% loss in atmospheric moisture. This dry air does not stay confined to cleared pastures. It spills into the adjacent intact forest. The surrounding trees are exposed to a hostile, dry environment. As soil moisture depletes, the largest canopy trees suffer hydraulic failure. Their internal water transport vessels rupture, killing them where they stand. Their fall tears open the protective canopy, allowing wind and intense sunlight to reach the once damp forest floor. The cool, humid microclimate vanishes, replaced by a highly flammable layer of dry wood and leaves. When agricultural fires escape into these degraded zones, they trigger a destructive loop. Tropical trees did not evolve with thick, fire-resistant bark. Even a low-intensity ground fire kills over half of the mature trees in its path. The intense heat sterilizes the soil, destroying the native seed bank. In the aftermath of the burn, opportunistic, fire-adapted grasses seize the degraded land. These invasive plants create a fine fuel layer that ignites easily, ensuring that any subsequent dry season brings more destructive fires. This is savannization, a self-reinforcing engine of ecological shift. Once this feedback loop begins, the forest ceases to function as a carbon sink and a regional cooling agent. This thermal shift weakens the regional air currents, reducing the forest's ability to stabilize temperatures across the continent. Instead, it locks the ecosystem into a permanent, dry, open state, systematically dismantling the very mechanism that keeps the Amazon wet. The collapse of this water engine does not stop at the edges of the South American continent. The Amazon is an essential node in the planetary climate system, and its degradation triggers a cascade of global consequences. Research by Simon Lewis, professor of global change science at University College London and the University of Leeds, reveals the scale of this disruption. His landmark study documented a 30% reduction in the Amazon's carbon sink capacity. If the forest loses 20% of its canopy, the resulting dieback will release up to 0.8 petagrams of carbon annually, transforming one of Earth's greatest cooling systems into a massive greenhouse gas source. This atmospheric disruption physically alters weather patterns thousands of miles away. Climate models show that suppressing Amazon moisture transport shifts the Atlantic circulation, leading to a 10 to 15% drop in summer rainfall across Texas and the US Midwest, and weakening monsoon rains over East Asia, including Tokyo. Averting this global shift requires immediate, targeted action. Replanting trees is not a cure-all once thresholds are crossed. Instead, solutions must focus on preserving what remains, halting new clearings, stopping fires, and securing indigenous land rights, which satellite data shows reduces deforestation rates by up to 70%. The line between a self-sustaining rainforest and an irreversible savanna is actively moving. The fundamental question remains, can we still stop this transition, or have we already crossed the point of no return? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We are no longer predicting a future crisis. We are living through the transition. If this forest fails, the global climate shifts forever. Have we already crossed the line of no return, or is there still time to stop it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.